Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Dale TV. Once again, this is Dale, your practical guide to the preparation of action research in education. This morning, another topic will be discussed with regards to writing and action research in education. But before that, for those who are new to this channel, I want you to subscribe and then hit the notification bell so that if I have new videos relating to writing and action research in education, you will always be updated. Before we are going to discuss our topic this morning, which is the writing of your research methodology, let us have first a recap of what has been discussed last meeting. Last meeting, we discussed and you are taught how to write a scope and limitation of your action research, wherein from that discussion, we highlighted the 5 important elements for you to be able to complete your scope and limitations. The following elements are: first, we have the locale; second, the respondents, meaning who are your respondents and how many respondents do you have. Next is the instrument to be used and its purpose, and lastly, the time frame or the duration of the study. So these are the 5 important elements that you are going to focus in writing your scope and limitation. Now, we are going to proceed to our topic this morning, which is the writing of your research methodology. But before that, make sure that you have a pen and a paper for you to be able to jot down the important details in the completion of your research methodology. In writing your research methodology, another 5 elements that you are going to consider. These are the elements to be considered for you to be able to present well your research methodology. First, we have the design. Second, sampling. Third, ethical consideration. Fourth, data gathering procedure. And the last one is on data analysis. Okay. So let us have first the design. So in writing or in describing your design, you should have to mention what is the design that you are going to use for you to be able to complete this research. Okay, so during our previous video, I already presented to you the different research designs that is possible for you to be able to use this in your research. Okay, so after mentioning the design, you should have as well to justify why you are using this design or how this design works in your study. Next is the sampling. So you should have to mention the sampling and then justification of the sampling. So when we talk about sampling, how did you choose or select your respondents? So you have to mention that so that it is also clear that this is the scientific way that you engage for you to be able to come up this number of respondents. Next is on ethical consideration. ethical consideration is necessary in doing research, especially if your respondents are minors. Okay. So for example, your respondents are your students. They are still below 18 years old. So that's why you should have to highlight that you are employing ethical consideration before you are going to float your questionnaire. And one good example of this is asking a permission from their parents. You should have to write a waiver, a parent consent rather, so that these students will be considered as part of your study. Next is on data gathering procedure. It will answer on the question, how will you gather the data? It is a step-by-step process, no? A step-by-step description on how you started collecting data and how you ended up, no, after collecting the data. And the last one is on data analysis. How are you going to analyze your data? So meaning to say, what statistical tools that you use, or what statistical tools that you will use in order to analyze or in order to treat the data. So these are the 5 important elements that you are going to consider in writing your research methodology. Okay. So this time, I will be presenting a sample, no? A sample completed research methodology, and I want you to focus on the colored text of the sample because this colored text is actually representing the element or the elements in writing your research methodology. First is on the design. So you should have to mention the design. This study will use correlational research design. So the design is correlational. So you should have to justify why you are using this design. It is correlational since the researcher will determine the relationship between extent of bullying and the level of the academic performance of the students. So, you are now highlighting the reason why you are using the correlational research design because you want to determine the relationship. Next is on sampling. Complete enumeration will be used in the selection of the respondents. This means that all grade 12 students will be considered as part of the study. So after mentioning the design or after mentioning the sampling, no, after mentioning the sampling, you should have also to justify why you are using the sampling. Okay, so there are lots of sampling, no? Actually, there are 2 types. We have the probability and non-probability sampling. So, you should have to mention what sampling you are using and the justification of using the sampling. Next is on ethical consideration. To ensure the ethical culture of this endeavor, the researcher will write a letter asking permission to the school head to conduct the study. Okay, so first is you are going to write a letter asking a permission that you are going to conduct the study. Next is parental consent as well will be sent to the parents for them to know that their students will be participating in the study. Since your respondents are minors, no? They are your students, meaning below 18 years old, so you should have to float a consent. Okay. And then, only signed consent will be considered of the students' participation in the study. So after having the parental consent, if the parent will not sign on the consent, do not force your student to be part of your study. only are those students, no, who have signed consent of their parents. Next is on data gathering procedure. After the approval of the letter, the researcher will gather the respondents and be enlightened as to the purpose of the study. Always remember this, that the respondents, they have also the right to know, no, why they will be gathered, why you wanted them to be part of your study. So you should have to explain that to your respondents. Next, after which questionnaires will be given to them for them to answer. Then, right after, questionnaires will be collected and tallied. The data will be interpreted and analyzed. So, meaning to say, this is the step-by-step, no, description of how are you going to gather your data. And the last one is on data analysis. In the analysis of the data, mean will be used in determining the extent of bullying and the level of academic performance. Pearson R will be also used to evaluate the relationship between the extent of bullying and the level of academic performance. So, with the presentation that I provided you this morning, we covered the 5 important elements in writing your research methodology. So always remember this. Since research is a formal or it is a scientific writing, you should have to be guided on this. You should have to be guided on this. Do not make blah 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 in doing research. Direct to the point. So that's why in this video presentation, I am teaching you how to do your research methodology, how to write your research methodology, so that at the end of the day, you will be guided in doing this one. I hope that you learned something this morning. Always remember this, that writing and action research is like eating an ice cream. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Bye-bye and stay safe always, everyone.